Hi, my name is Claire and this is my story. What happened in the next few days, I was then asked if I wanted to be seen by an oncologist in the hospital, which was a small town hospital, but with a breast cancer specialist in the hospital where I delivered Ethan, or perhaps I could have gone to the cantonal hospital. I chose to stay at the hospital where I'd been, and I met the doctors and they were like, well, you know, we're not right, yours is a bit of an unusual case. And I was thinking, oh, I might be the one that gets the unusual case. Why can't I just have the bog standard? And so, that's when I got referred to go to the breast cancer specialist in St Gallen. And again, that happened quite quickly over the space of just a few days. I was then diagnosed with stage 2. Estrogen positive, HER2 negative breast cancer, which had spread only to the lymph nodes. So I'd had scans, it hadn't spread to anywhere else in my body, so, you know, according to them, that was a good sign. The view was, after getting the reports collated, the oncologist that I saw was of the view that I should have the chemo first, because they were concerned at how quickly it could grow, and they thought that actually the best thing to do was to try and shrink what was there first and then do the mastectomy, because I think that's another thing, that the norm is to do a mastectomy or a lumpectomy first and then do chemo. But I think, so the view was 8 cycles of chemotherapy, single radical mastectomy and radiotherapy. So I was like, chemotherapy? Well, I'm going to be floored, you know, I won't be able to get out of bed. Well, I was fine. I had a little sleep that afternoon, I remember, and I was fine the next day. Doctor was, gave you the right stuff. Probably about 3 or 4 months ago, I started to feel like I was perhaps having a mini breakdown. I felt like I'd lost control. Physically, I was all right, but mentally, I felt like I was starting to crumble. I'd had a breakdown through work when I was just in my late 20s. So I kind of knew what it felt like. And I was saying to Rob, I was like, oh God, you know, I'm so worried. I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to lose the plot. And I saw my oncologist and he was like, I can tell this is not right because I've never seen you, you know, like this. You've always been really strong and, you know, yes, there's been times that you've come in here and you've been worried, you're waiting for results, and, you know, I've seen you in tears, but not, you know, not like this. Yeah, so I finished my chemo. They did MRI scans, and progress was being made. Still went ahead with the decision to have the single radical mastectomy and also remove the lymph nodes. And everything, apparently they were very happy with how the operation went. It's the first time I've ever had an operation. All the signs were good. No issues. Didn't have to go in, do anything else. That was it. My case went to the tumour board at the hospital, and there was some debate as to whether I should then have radiotherapy or not. I didn't meet the criteria in terms of the number of lymph nodes that were affected with cancer and with regards to the size of the tumour and the margins and things. I didn't meet the criteria for radiotherapy, but the doctor said there was a lot of discussion as to whether you should have had it or not, but the decision was you don't need it. And I accepted that. And this is possibly my biggest regret, that I didn't push it. Had I had the radiotherapy, would I be in the position that I'm in now? Because having been given effectively given the all clear in the December of 2011, being put on tamoxifen for 5+ years, we left Switzerland to come back to Dubai in the March of 2012. And I started going through the process of having my first set of checks. Prior to having those checks, I had one issue, which was I had woken up one day with pain in my back, in my ribs, and I thought that I'd slept funny. But the pain didn't go away, it didn't ease up that day, and it hung around for about a week or two and then went away. But after 2 weeks it disappeared, there was nothing there. So when I started going for the tests, the bone density scan, the CT scan, I was like, have you had any problems? And I was like, well, there's just this one thing, I had this one issue, but the pain's gone away, nothing there anymore. And sure enough, it showed up as a fracture on the CT scan. They were like, well, you fractured your rib. Have you had any, impact? Have you fallen or anything like that? And I was like, no. And when they did the next CT, they confirmed that actually the fracture had been caused by effectively the bone had been eroded by the cancer cells. And then, no, actually they didn't know. So it was just literally just in the rib at that stage. And then then they said, oh, well, there's something not quite right with your heart. There's something around that. And to be honest, it was a horrendous experience. I didn't like the oncologist. I went in there that morning. He hadn't even read the report. He told me that I had cancer again. And, it was secondary. And, well, no, you can't be cured. Let me get on the phone to the whoever and just check out the details of this report. It was horrendous. And I'd gone to that appointment with Ethan by myself, not thinking anything of it. So I was straight on, while he's on the phone to whoever trying to verify what's in the report, I'm on the phone to Rob saying, you need to get down here. And yeah, I had already been in the process of trying to find a different oncologist. So I'd already been to see my new doctor, Dr. Maroon, and I'd also seen a radio oncologist, because all 3 doctors that I'd seen here were, to say that they were appalled that I hadn't had radiotherapy was probably an understatement. And differing opinions, some saying it's too late. The radio oncologist that I saw was like, no, it's not too late. So I immediately, as soon as I got the diagnosis, I wasn't really interested in what this doctor had to say. I was like, give me all my notes. I'm going to somewhere that I trust. So we went straight from there, straight to American Hospital, and saw the radio oncologist who got all the scans up, and it's like, oh, I don't think there's anything wrong with your heart. I think, but he said, yeah, you're looking at secondary breast cancer, and we need to do a full PET scan to understand if it's just in your ribs, if it's elsewhere. The PET scan confirmed that I had several sites, but only in my bones, nowhere else. Yeah, once we knew what we were dealing with, they said, yeah, you've got secondary breast cancer in the bones. I was like, well, what does that mean? I mean, in my mind, I knew that people die of secondary cancers. That's the thing that gets most people. Most people don't die of a primary cancer, they die from secondaries. I kind of wanted to know, but I didn't want to know at the same time. And still now to this day, there's only a certain level that I can go to in terms of asking questions of the doctors, because I'm not prepared or able to kind of process what that means. But they said to me that people in a similar position to me have lived for 10 to 15 years. They haven't told me that they can guarantee me that time, but they said that people have have lived for that time. But I essentially live from one PET scan to another, because that's going to tell me that is what I live from in terms of knowing how bad it is, how good it is, what that means. I think initially I went on the treatment for 6 months, and then we did a scan yeah, I've been on, so the last 2 years I've done different types of hormone therapy, different types of oral chemotherapy. It's not until April of this year that we found that the cancer had spread to my liver that I went back onto IV chemo. And still, the doctor says he still hasn't brought out the big guns yet in terms of the chemos. So to a lot of people looking at me, until I lost my hair in May of this year, no one would have known to look at me that I had stage 4 cancer, incurable cancer.